Okay, I just wanted to show you guys like the initial setup for deconversion. It would be like this. There'd be a money on each bullseye, and let me display what I mean by bullseye right there in the middle. There's energy in the form of food, and they each do different things. There's 3 types of energies. You might want to hold off on collecting energy too soon, because you can only have them for 2 turns, and it ups your power. It ups all your abilities up to 3, depending on what you get. So you might want to hold off until you can actually make an attack or use one of those energies. 20 different attributes go up 1, 2, or 3. So you put a coin on each one of those, and then after those 2 turns denoted by a white coin, bump, bump, you take it off, and you can't use it anymore until you get more energy. So it's basically like an abstract strategy game like checkers or chess. You're moving around trying to capture your one dude. There's a dude, there's a dude. And then you roll the dice after each move to move away, like you move 1 and you move away 1, but then you can also make your attack if you have the money to buy one. You gotta have at least 5 coins at all times to make an attack. You can spend that 5, but then you have to replenish your value. And, that takes a little bit of time. I haven't actually played this yet. I bought this just to see if anybody wanted to play through. I met a friend from Spokane who has like a bunch of dudes that play tabletop games, and they thinking about maybe inviting me to play a board game with them, and they want to see what I've created. So I'm more than delighted to show stuff like this off. You can modify the board, which is these pieces, to be any shape you want at the beginning. When you place the money, you place it on a bullseye. When it runs out, you place more until you run out. Right now we got 5, 10, plus 10 more is 20, and there's 30 more in the bag. Energy, I'm not sure what it was. I forget. It's in the rules how much energy is each one. But that's useful as fuck too. You're basically going up to the attack, and based on previous dice rolls to get money, you add up on paper. You have to write this down, how much the money's worth. Because it would be too much tokens to denote 6 for each thing that you got at the most. And that would just make the game more expensive. So I just had it kind of as a write down. It's not a roll and move game. It's more like checkers or chess or Pente or Nefertofel, where you're moving by your own will. There's a certain number of spaces you can move based on your respect value, and it could be up to 6 because there's a die in the game to determine all those 20 attributes. But there are ways around that. Like if you stand on top of the money and don't collect it, you're immune to an attack a little bit more. Like if it's, let's say this guy has 4 to reach you, or 6 or 12 or whatever, I don't know, a million. If he's got 4 spaces to reach you, the fact that you're standing on the money means that you have to roll 1 time for each one of them that you hit up for how much it's worth and how much security you have and how much of a glimmer that hologram has, which is just the $sign. See, we call that the hologram in the game. So if it's 4 to reach you and you roll a 4 to determine your security, then it's 8 to reach you. You understand? You just add the 2 values together, and then he has to have 4 for his total message and respect and attack to reach you. And the attacks are things like wind and odor and radiation and heat. That's what they're called. They're called climates. And so you're basically in control of the weather and attributes of the game, like stench. And stench might be like move your guy 2 up and 2 over, which isn't an actual move in the game. 2 up and 2 over is not an actual move, but it could be something like diagonal 3. And that determines how you can reach them by a certain shape to get that attack. In each turn, you draw a token, and your partner draws a token too, and if they match in colors, you as the first drawer, as your turn, the active player, are immune to attack. So if you draw red and they draw red, then they can't hit you in this attack, in the next move. So the game is based on various ways to avoid attacks and to attack. And you have 6 lives, and you have 6 turns before you have to rearrange or re-roll all 20 of those attributes. And it's just a matter of being patient and rolling the dice and changing yourself every 6 turns. So it fucks with your memory. It's deep, man. I made it so it was interesting and hard to keep up with stuff. You have to like manage your resources. You have to manage your money. And you write down like, oh, I rolled a 6 to pick up this money because my glimmer and understanding were the same. And so I rolled the G, and that was the U that I also rolled, and they match. So I pick it up and it's worth 6. So I write down 1 money is worth 6. Or 1 money is worth 3, or whatever it is. The ones that you have here in your pile are just worth 1. And that's just security so you can buy an attack. You can spend all 5 of yours on the attack, but then you have to collect 5 more to make another attack. Plus you have to collect money to make the attack. So you might want to just keep your 5 and collect money to make an attack. And there's 10 coins on the board, and no attack is worth more than 6. So you might have a list of attacks. You have a list of attacks that are like 8 attacks. And so you pick the one that you want, which is in your price value, and you have to line up so that that attack will hit that person. Like your attack might be a diagonal, so you have to line up your sights and everything to be a diagonal. I think it's pretty clever. In actuality, these black tokens are desires. So you roll for your desire, which is your D value. And they sit right next to you, like in a stack. You can do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But they have to move along with you. And each turn, they diminish on each mat. Like if you stay on your money for 6 turns, and you've got 6 desires, those deplete to 0. And then you have to move to a different mat. Even if like you're 6, so you have to move to a different mat. You just, if your 6 ran out, or 4 or 3 or whatever, you just were like, oh, okay, I got to move to a different mat. So I moved there, and all your desires are replaced for your D value. And then you can stay on that map for that many turns. Each turn that you don't move, what I'm saying is if you don't move and you're on that same mat, then it depletes your black tokens. Your white tokens determine how long you can hold on to energy. And there's 8 white tokens because each person can hold on to 2 energies at a time, and the energies can stay with you for 2 turns, which gives you 4 white tokens that you could total have. So you have to use your energy somehow, or not use it, but either way your energy goes back in the bag and can't be used after those 2 tokens are depleted, because you get 2 tokens per energy, which is 2 turns. So that's what I mean. You have to stave off your want to pick up the energy, which are hot dogs, popcorn, and soda. And as you can see, this is a golem. It's actually a big-ass robot. It's called a Dwarven Golem. I just call it a golem. And this is an ogre. There's more pieces that connect to this, but I throw them out. I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to glue those on. I'm not going to weld those on. So, this golem doesn't have arms, or maybe those are his arms right there. Maybe those little things right there are his arms. But he has big hands that attack. I threw it out. I was like, I don't want to deal with it. You know, when I do the sale for the actual game, I'm thinking about using less expensive pieces that are half as much but are still made out of metal, because I really like the metallurgy aspect of this. Like, they're fantasy creatures, but see, that golem cost me like $9, and that one cost me like $7 and some change, if I'm not mistaken. So what I'd like to do is like have one that's like $4 and another one that's worth maybe $4 that don't have pieces to assemble on the damn gluing. I don't really like the idea of having to glue my pieces together. I think that's kind of shitty. But you got these punch outs which determine on your card value. You have 20 cards, so you roll up to 6 per each card, and then you put 6 on those cards, and this is what the cards look like. They're double printed, so if you get a G, and there's 2 of each, so if you get a G, you just flip it over if you're the white team or the black team. G, A. There's ones that are white. Just the other side of that is white. I just did that because it was easier to make, instead of going through and like each one is that and having 40 cards. I just did 40 cards where the backs were different. It was just how I made them. I thought that was kind of stupid how fast I could go doing that rather than just like slowly. I mean, stupid in a smart value. I don't know. I just thought it was a lot better to do it the way I did it. This is 2 sheets. This is the rules. You can see the game is called Deconversion because your logic defeats faith, and they have different religions. These are different creatures. This is basically a dwarf. It's huge. I don't know. It's a golem. A golem is an ancient fantasy creature that they don't use very much. They used it in Neverending Story with the Rockbiter, but you rarely see golems in fantasy. But they are a fantasy thing. And this is an ogre. So they each have different religions, and you're trying to knock their religious power out. So that's why it's called Deconversion. It's a loose reference to atheism. Is there any more? Okay, you can see the meeples. The meeples denote your life. You have 6 life. There's a die. The bars, to get a clearer look, determine how many turns you've taken. Because after 6 turns, you change up your aspects. It's a pretty involved game. It's like chess meets Monopoly meets like Settlers of Catan. I'm trying to think. Well, you can see that there's also red. When I printed them, they were kind of pinkish. And the thing that pisses me off is I accidentally ordered regular size meeples and then large meeples for the green. I don't know if I should keep that or not. I'm thinking about changing it for the sale version. All I got to do is tick like one box and untick another box, and then the next version that gets bought will be the correct sizes. This is a prototype. The prototype cost me, I think, it's somewhere between $60 and $90. I just dropped some cash on it because that's what I wanted to do. I don't even care if they don't sell. I have these games that nobody's ever heard of that people can play with me if they live in Spokane. So that's Deconversion from the Wern. Get that on there correctly.